Welcome to your Barbados Today evening news update for Wednesday, November 25. Government's move to become 100% reliant on renewable energy by 2030 is not being left to chance, and every Barbadian will have to get on board. So says Prime Minister Mia Mottley at today's joint launch of the Caribbean Centre for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Project Preparation Facility and the Credit Risk Abatement Facility, an initiative of the CARICOM Development Fund. Mottley expressed concern that Barbados imported over $700 million in fossil fuel last year despite its goal. She says the state will have to intervene.
For us, as I said, it is fundamentally an issue of survival. And it has meant that we will have to discuss whether in truth and in fact we may need as a country to recognize that there is a cost to smallness and there is a cost to our wanting to survive, and that cost will be borne by us all by making the transition to renewable energy.
The Prime Minister announced that at least a quarter of the local renewable energy market will be reserved for the water and transportation sectors and non-governmental organizations. She also outlined plans for a new housing program which will allow potential homeowners to utilize their roofs to earn revenue.
We have just agreed to the establishment of a company called Hope Inc. And Hope Inc. will essentially undertake housing and will enter arrangements for those homeowners, potential homeowners who are interested in being able to access land at or property, I should say, at significantly subsidized prices by assigning the rights to their roof for those who are prepared to put on the photovoltaic panels and hence remove from them the cost of the land that they would otherwise have to find the money for. So put simply, that those potential owners who are prepared to enter a contract to assign the benefits of their roof for energy production through solar photovoltaic panels will then be able to have access to the land on which their house will be built without having to pay for the land.
On this International Day to End Violence Against Women, local authorities warn domestic violence is on the rise. At today's launch of 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence, Chairperson of the National Advisory Committee on Gender, Dr. Letney Rock, says the situation is worrying.
Let us not think for one moment that we have escaped this scourge. The atrocities are so many, and the acts of violence so pervasive in our society that although we may not all have experienced the violence directly, we are affected by it in some way because the violence is systemic. We must remind ourselves too that with the violence comes trauma. It not only threatens the life of an individual or harms the individual, many times it ends the life of the individual.
Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Cynthia Ford says government has been aware of the recent increase in domestic violence issues since the start of the lockdown, and it has been taking steps to address the problem.
The Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs also created a hotline for persons in need of services or experiencing forms of domestic violence. Moreover, the Shelter for Battered Women, managed by the Business and Professional Women's Club, remained open and accommodated those women who were in need of such services. I must let you know that the Welfare Department played a very outstanding role as well, where there were many women who reported being put out and they had children with them. And having found houses for them, the Welfare Department was able to pay rent and provide services with food and furniture and so on to ease that pain and that suffering, not only for the women and the rest of the family, but indeed our young children who witness it every time.
In sports, the world mourns the passing of one of the greatest footballers of all time, Diego Maradona, who suffered a heart attack at the age of 60.
This was the goal that made Diego Armando Maradona, a spectacular 60-meter weave through 5 English players. In 2002, it was voted the best goal in World Cup history. But there was another goal scored only minutes earlier with his hand that made him an instant football legend. The hand of God, he cheekily called it afterwards, but the referee hadn't seen the foul and allowed the goal. Argentina went on to win the World Cup in 1986. Born in a shanty town outside Buenos Aires, the footballing legend was only 10 when his talent was spotted. At 16, he started his professional career, playing for Boca Juniors in Argentina before setting Spain and Italy alight with his skills. But 15 years on, some of the shine was taken off his glorious reputation when Argentina lost the 1990 World Cup to West Germany. Less than a year later, Maradona was suspended from football for 15 months after failing a drug test for cocaine. He was sent home from the 1994 World Cup after again testing positive for drugs. In 1997, Maradona retired from professional football and has since been blighted by ill health and weight gain. In 2004, he had to fight for his life after a heart attack.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news in Jamaica, despite recent heavy rains that triggered massive losses in the agricultural sector, authorities assure there will be enough food for the Christmas season. More in this report from Ocean Masters of Television Jamaica.
Over $1 billion in damage to agriculture from the recent rains which lashed the island, with farmers calling for immediate assistance. The ministry subsequently announced that some $600 million would be made available. But with the Christmas holidays mere weeks away, questions have been raised as to whether the country's agriculture sector will be able to fulfill the needs of the population. Agriculture Minister Floyd Green, speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica program on Wednesday morning, says he's optimistic that the needs would be met. His comment comes following the Jamaica Agricultural Society, JAS, warning of a food shortage because of the challenges faced by farmers.
There will be areas in which we have challenges, but I wouldn't go on as far as to say brace for food shortages. And I'll tell you why I say that. There are still some areas that we're doing well in. Our tubers, things like yam, potatoes, still doing well. All our meat items. So we're going to have our highest production of chicken ever this Christmas. We're still doing well in relation to pork, in relation to goat meat. So I believe that those will be in good supply.
Further afield in the U.S. President Donald Trump has pardoned his former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI. The president said the widely expected act of clemency was his great honor. Mr. Flynn was among former aides to President Trump, convicted during a Justice Department investigation into alleged Russian election interference.
I think you can expect that this will just be the first of several pardons that the president is likely to issue in the final days and weeks of his presidency. But certainly this is one that has been long discussed inside the White House. The president has been considering for a long time, and now obviously that he knows that he will not be president in about 60 days, this is the moment for him to do this, pardoning former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who was only National Security Advisor for a few weeks before he was fired for lying to the Vice President of the United States about his contacts with the Russians during the transition back in 2017. And those contacts happened in 2016. And then he later pleaded guilty to the FBI in 2017 in relation to those same contacts. And somehow Michael Flynn ultimately decided to try and retract that guilty plea.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as Screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.